The SEDP did give us solid information, point us in a good direction.
The SEDP helped connect me with resources that I didn't know existed.
And so we're thankful that the SEDP is, right there alongside of us.
When the pandemic started, we made a choice very early on. We were going to do everything we could to communicate to our businesses all the available tools and resources to help them through that difficult time. So we set up a conference call line that was good for every day, and we had different speakers, different programs, different ideas to try to educate our businesses on what was available to help them.
During the shutdown, everybody lost their sense of place. They just didn't know where the next thing was going to come from. And Justin and the team at SEDP were amazing. They kept us informed. They kept us updated on what new safety protocols, what new guidelines were coming out, what the governor was doing. And it gave me a reason every morning to call in and find out what's today going to have for us.
One of the exciting projects that came out of this was a partnership between SLH Metals and High Quality Glass to provide a mobile sneeze guard barrier that has been used in offices and factories throughout Shiawassee County.
SEDP was amazing as far as the supply chains for PPE equipment. They got wind of the fact that we were helping a business in Owasso manufacture these sneeze guards. And it was wall-to-wall coverage, day in, day out. There was not a meeting that went by or any social media posting or anything that you didn't see our name in there, and that was very appreciated. That they did a phenomenal job of promoting all of the PPE suppliers, not just ourselves.
The SEDP offered us probably the most important thing a business owner needs, and that's information. The SEDP was very helpful in filling in the blanks of what was going on with coronavirus, what was going on with the government response to coronavirus, and what impact it was going to have on our businesses and our customers. So we had that information to manage our day-to-day operations and had some kind of an idea of what was coming. The SEDP helped us understand what was happening both from a scientific standpoint and a government standpoint of how those two were going to impact our business and our customers. It got to the point where we had so much information. I have friends in other businesses in other parts of the state that were actually coming to me to get the information that they needed because I was getting it from the SEDP and they were kind of lost in the fog.
The SEDP made sure that everyone here was connected, and every time that there was a volunteer opportunity, Justin or Brent or Jody were sharing that opportunity out to all of their connections and making sure that everyone was still whole. And I think that that was really important because without that, we would have been so disconnected that we could have never come back. There have been so many successful relationships built between businesses and nonprofits because of the SEDP. Specifically, the ARC of Mid-Michigan was struggling, and financially they don't know if they're going to still be able to maintain the services that they're able to provide. They're a funded partner through the United Way, and we want to make sure that they do still provide those services. So through the SEDP, we were able to obtain a trailer from A1 trailer. So Bill came in, he helped us bring in a 48-foot trailer, and they were able to do a pop can drive to raise money and funds for their mission and their efforts here within Shiawassee County. And I think that without Justin and without Brent and without Jody, we could have never done that. And Maine Beverage was able to be a community partner as well for that. They were taking back the aluminum. And it was just a really great collaborative effort. And those are the partnerships that Shiawassee Economic Development Partnership is able to bring to our community.
When the pandemic first happened, obviously, as it still is right now, there's a lot of uncertainties that happen with that. How SEDP helped myself and my company regarding this pandemic and how we went through it was they were a tremendous resource for us. At the time, there was very limited information. that was out there. SEDP was doing the yeoman's chore of trying to research, dive into. It was a one-stop shop for businesses in this community. We had conference calls every day that the pandemic was going on. It was an area that, in the midst of a storm, there was a little bit of calm.
Some of the tools we looked at included financing, grants, human resource information, tax credits, legal questions, really anything you could think of that a business might have a concern about, we tried to identify and learn about and provide that to our companies.
Well, I sat in on a webinar, and I knew that I was not in a position of expertise, so I went to the experts, and I knew they existed, and I sought them out and went to the webinar and attended it, and that's where I found a whole plethora of information at my fingertips to help me through it, whether it was the PPP application or grants that were able, that I may have been able to apply for. Justin had reached out and started sending me all sorts of information that may or may not have applied to my business, but at least I knew the resources were there. One of the things that the SEDPA did for me also is showed me the resource of free financial help through the SBDC, and that connected me with Cheryl Peterson, who has been my financial advisor throughout all of this and has my back and calls me weekly with updates and helps me out tremendously. Well, I knew it was out there, and I never thought it would apply to my business because they deal with things on a much larger scale. And Justin has just been tireless. I mean, he's always posting about it, helping, sending emails, sending links to webinars, and he just has worked tirelessly through this whole thing.
I had reached out to Justin with the SEDP. Retail was closing, right? So our coffee shops are primarily driven by people coming into our stores. And so we were looking at alternative ways to sell our product, our coffee. So we have a wholesale operation to our business. And so Justin was one of the first people that came to mind. And I just reached out to him and said, hey, how do we start a conversation for the grocery market? How do we pivot? And so Justin had connected us to the Department of Ag and eventually to the Meijer stores, which resulted in us having a conversation with the store director and manager for the Capital City Market over in Lansing. So that's still been a conversation we're ironing out now, but it was just an example of how Justin and the SEDP office are really just a architect of relationships. Hey, I may not be the person that has the answer, but I know somebody who does. And so it's cool that in a text message, to a phone call, to an email, to a meeting on Zoom, we could pivot and have that relationship really just facilitated through the SEDP office.